Before starting a YouTube channel almost 2 years ago, one of the things I used to always think about was what are the secrets to creating a successful YouTube channel? And the common advice I always got was to niche down, be consistent, and gear doesn't matter. Now, although I don't think that that's bad advice, what I have found from creating content for the past 2 years is that a lot of the advice doesn't focus enough on how to turn yourself into a niche and also the business aspects of content creation. And so in this video, I want to share 7 secrets that I wish I'd known about content creation before I'd started. So let's get into the video. Number 1, just start and be consistent. So this is the simplest secret on this list, but it's also the most important because the fear of not getting started, I understand that fear because I remember when I first considered, creating a YouTube channel, one of the things that I feared was just putting myself out there, putting videos out on the internet and potentially my family or my friends finding out. And so when I posted my first video, I shared it with one friend and he happened to share it with other people because I guess he thought that the video was good and eventually people found out. And so I get having that fear, but the most important thing is your improvement, because if you can't get over fear, then you can't become the best version of yourself. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, which means starting. Because think about this, the pain of not starting is much greater than the pain of starting a YouTube channel and then failing at it. And again, I can say this from 2 years of experience because I'm 2 years in, I have 500 subscribers, which is, for me, it's really good. But if you told me that I had that 2 years ago, 2 years in, then I probably would have thought that that wasn't that much. And so you could say that what I've done or where I am right now is a failure by those standards. Yeah, I'm here making this video for you guys, so it shows that no, I haven't failed at what I've been doing. And so again, my point is just start. And then once you start, be consistent. And from what I've seen, it usually takes between 3 to 6 months to get into the algorithm and kind of just start growing. So consistency is not negotiable because, again, as someone that's been making content for 2 years, I've had times where I've been consistent and then I've had times where I haven't been consistent. And I feel like that's held me back because I feel like I should be further than where I am, if I'm being honest. And so being consistent is not negotiable. You have to constantly show up for the people that you are providing value for. Because if you don't constantly show up, then you can't build trust and you can't build a relationship with your audience. And that's ultimately what we do as content creators. So just start. I understand if there's some fear there, but you have to start for your own sake. You have to start to become the best version of yourself. If you can start a content creator business or just start creating content, then imagine what you can do in other areas of your life. And so that's how I would think about it instead of, I may potentially fail at this. And then again, once you start, consistency is not an option. It's not negotiable. Number 2, focus on storytelling. So I feel like this is something that's not talked about enough when people give advice, but the main thing for keeping engagement is focusing on your storytelling. So that means improving your storytelling. So here's just kind of, basic advice for storytelling. So it's kind of like a 3-act narrative. So when you make a video, there should be some form of beginning, middle, and end. And what you do usually at the beginning is you hook people in, right? I have a whole framework for this called the CKS, which is basically you capture attention using your title, your thumbnail, and basically the first 30 seconds of your video, which is your hook. And usually with the hook, you want to allude to your title and you also want to really talk about the problem. You want to kind of talk about, okay, this is the problem that I'm going to be covering in the video. From there, you keep someone's attention. So that's where you just go throughout the video. For example, right now, I'm giving you the lessons or the secrets that I've learned. So I'm keeping your attention. And then the end of the video is where you send someone to another video or another piece of content or potentially a product for you. And so what you want to do at the end of the video is leave someone with a final message and then send them to something that will help them even further, right? Because again, what we do as content creators is we help people, we serve people, whether that's through entertainment, whether that's through information, or whether that's just inspiration. But the whole point of this is serving people. So you want to send someone to another piece of your content because that's serving them. So don't be afraid to ask for someone to subscribe to your newsletter or just ask to subscribe to your channel. I know that because a lot of people do that, it's kind of looked down upon. But, if someone subscribes to your channel, then they're getting value from you. So that's how you have to think about it. Number 3, you are the niche. So this may sound a little bit counterintuitive, because common advice is to just niche down on a topic and then only talk about that topic. And from my experience, that just doesn't work. If you've ever done freelancing, then I think niching down for freelancing specifically, that works because you want to niche down on a certain clientele. But in terms of audience building or content creation, you're trying to build an audience. And so it's not necessarily that you're niching down on one topic to talk about, but really you're niching down on a goal. Because what we do as content creators, we're basically one-person media companies. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But basically, we are one-person media companies. And so there's two things, right? We have brands and we have content. Now, your content is going to constantly change because your goals are always going to change. And so again, that's why your content isn't stagnant. So instead of niching down on the specific topic, focus on creating content for the person that you were 1 to 2 years ago. And the reason why you want to do that is because that's the person that you can help. If you are 2 years ahead of who you were 2 years ago, then that means that you've learned something. And if you've learned something, then that means that you can give advice to the type of person that you were 2 years ago. And what you may not realize is that a lot of people are in the position that you were in a couple years ago. And so your audience is the person that you were 2 years ago. So for example, if you look at my channel, early in my channel, I made videos for Howard students. And that's because a couple years before that, I'd gone through the college application process and I got accepted to Howard. And I realized that a lot of the content that I saw about Howard was made by women. And I'm not like hating here, but I didn't see a lot of content that I resonated with. And so I wanted to make that content for basically the person that I was when I was going through the college application process. And so I was able to attract an audience because, number one, people were interested in Howard, but also because I had an understanding of my audience because I was my audience. But as I've developed, my content over time has changed. And so my point is you aren't static, which means that you can't have a static niche. So instead of having a static niche, what you do, again, is you are the niche and you make content for the person that you were a couple years ago. Number 4, become a value creator. So one thing that I would avoid is starting with vlogs. Now, I'm not saying that you can't start with vlogs, but make sure that you don't make random vlogs. And what I mean by that is I bought a backpack or I bought a $5,000 car. Because people don't know you at the start, no one really cares about that. So instead, focus on becoming a value creator. And a value creator is someone that has a value proposition. So when someone finds your channel, they know what they're getting because there's a specific value proposition that you have. And again, value isn't just education, right? It can be entertainment, it can be inspiration, it can be, again, information. The point is that when someone comes to your channel, there should be some sort of transformation that they are getting because that's what marketing is about. And as content creators, what we're doing is really just marketing. But you have to transform someone from one state to another state. And so what value creators do is they have a specific, again, value proposition or transformation that their audience is getting from watching their videos. So when you create a piece of content, just think, how is this going to help someone, right? How is this going to entertain? How is this going to inspire? How is this going to inform someone? How is this going to transform someone from a problem state, whether this be bored, uninformed, or uninspired, to inspired, informed, or entertained? But again, create with value in mind. Number 5, build an offer. So one thing that I didn't understand at the beginning of my content creation journey was whether YouTube was a business, right? Is YouTube a business? And what I realized is that it is. But you shouldn't focus on relying only on YouTube for your income, because obviously there are multiple ways to monetize on YouTube. You can do AdSense, but then of course there are brand deals. If you aren't familiar with that, brands basically just offer creators deals to promote their products. But the point is that any social media that you use, so whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, it's just a means of getting traffic to a product or an offer that you should be creating, right? And this offer can be a service, it can be a product, but your focus should be on building traffic, which is your YouTube channel or whatever social media you're using, and then building an offer. Because let's think about business for a second, right? And again, what you're doing, if you're taking this seriously, you're building a business. So what do businesses do? Well, businesses have either a product or a service that they're offering. Let's just call this an offer. And in order to get customers, they have to build traffic, right? They have to gain traffic, and they can do this through commercials, billboards, social media ads, influencers, whatever, right? There are multiple ways to get traffic for a product. Now, as a creator, you're doing the same thing, but what you're doing right now is you're building traffic, right? You started with building traffic first and not necessarily with building a product or a service first. And so as content creators, we can't just think about building traffic, because if we only focus on building traffic, i.e. putting out content, then, we don't have any leverage because we're only monetizing on our platform that we're using, right? If I'm only monetizing on YouTube, then I'm only getting AdSense, I'm only getting brand deals. And so you have to think about creating a product on a platform that you own, right? A website, for example. And so when you're starting, obviously, you probably aren't going to start out with creating an offer, but you should think about the possibilities, right? Think about that you can create a product or you can create a service. And the end isn't just starting a YouTube channel and growing big on YouTube. Because if you're only focused on growing your social media, then you're not building something. You're not building something where you have leverage, right? Where you have control over how many sales you get. So let's just go over some example products or services that you can offer. So you can do coaching or consulting, and this can be for whoever, right? For example, for me, I'm interested in helping creators. So I would do some sort of consulting or coaching service for creators. You can also do a live cohort style course. So a lot of creators create courses, but they also have live cohorts. So you get access to the creators during the course. And so you can have that one-on-one interaction. And you could also do a freelancing service where you're actually fulfilling a service for someone. So let's just say you wanted to edit videos. That's like a random example, but you could edit videos for someone, but you get your clients using your personal brand. So those are just some examples of services. Let's go to some products that you could create. So you could create merch. That's a common example, but you can think bigger than merch, maybe a clothing line. You could also create a book. And with the book, you could send the traffic that you have to the book. You could also create a course, but instead of a live course, it could be a one-time course where, there's not as much interaction. So again, those are just a few examples. Obviously, there are a lot of products or services that you could create. But the point is to not just think about yourself as just someone that creates content. You are a one-person media company, like I mentioned earlier. So don't just think about creating content. Think about some of the offers that you're going to build and how you're going to send your audience to your offers. And again, of course, whatever offer you're creating, it should benefit your audience, right? That just goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. But again, that's kind of the point, right? You're creating a business and the audience that you're building should have some interest in your products. And that goes back to kind of the you are the niche thing. You want to build an audience that is somewhat similar to you. They have similar interests and they would buy similar things. And so you create a product that basically would help yourself from a couple years ago. Number 6, set boundaries. So I'm going to make a video about business advice I wish I hadn't taken. That'll be a juicy video, but here's one. A lot of people say that business is this really hard thing. And of course, like business, it can be time consuming, it can be difficult or challenging, but you have to learn how to set boundaries. That is one of the most important things that you learn when you start this, or if you have started, creating content. Because creating content is really fun. I personally love creating content. I know a lot of people who just love making videos or they love tweeting. Creating content is really fun, but it can also be really time consuming. So if you feel like it's taking too much of your time, then you need to set some boundaries, right? You need to know when you are creating content and when you are working, or when you are just being with your friends. You need to set those boundaries. And I really stress that because this is something that I've experienced. I've experienced thinking that because all these people are telling me that business is hard, then I need to spend all of my time on creating content. And what I've realized is, no, if you're doing that, then you're just not being efficient. And any business owner knows you have to be efficient. So if you feel like this is taking up too much of your time, then you need to look up strategies for how you can reduce the time that it takes to produce content. Now, some things that I have found that, reduces content. I think number one, you're just going to have to experiment, right? You're going to have to make different types of videos, or again, whatever you're creating. You have to make different types of content, and you have to be intentional about tracking how much time it takes to make that piece. But then something else that helps is just batching content. So batch writing stuff, batch filming. When you have energy to do something, do as much as you can and batch all of your content together so that you aren't constantly having to show up and be exceptional, because a lot of people think you have to be exceptional to be a business owner, but you don't need to be exceptional. You just need to be smart about how you use your energy. But if you always have to be exceptional, then you're not doing something right. And that's when you have to take a step back, zoom out, and think about, okay, what are some of the ways that I can reduce the time that I'm putting into this? And that comes with setting boundaries. Number 7, enjoy the process. So the most important part is to enjoy the process. We do this to have fun, but also to challenge ourselves. And so challenging yourself is really important, but you have to make sure that you're enjoying this. If you aren't enjoying making content, then, after a while you need to stop. So enjoy the process. Don't focus so much on growing, because you have to make bad videos or bad tweets, whatever, to make good videos and good tweets. So just enjoy the process of getting better. Go look back at some of your old pieces of work and just laugh at it. I do this all the time. I go back to some of my old videos. And I just laugh at how bad I was. And then I go to some of my newer videos and I'm like, wow, look at the process, or look at the progress. Embrace the process. That's why I said process. Embrace the process. Embrace your uniqueness, because you cannot be saturated. A lot of people say, is YouTube saturated, or are all of these platforms saturated? And it's like, no, it's not saturated. All you need is just an understanding of marketing. And you also just need to embrace who you are and show that to the world, and just bring your full self to what you do. Because with content, this is the only thing where you can show up as you are and you get rewarded for it. I get rewarded for being my authentic self on camera. And you can't always get that. You don't really get that in the workplace or in the corporate environment. So just be who you are. Embrace your uniqueness and embrace where you are right now, and embrace the journey. That is the most important thing, and just have fun with this. So those are the 7 secrets that I wish I knew before starting my content creation journey. If you found some value from this video, I have a playlist that I'm going to put up, but definitely subscribe, like this video if you haven't already. Yeah, just keep following, because I'm going to keep providing you guys with value. And let me know in the comments some videos that you want to see, because of course I'm here to serve you guys. But thank you for watching. Have a good day. Peace.